All right.
Yeah.
Hey, we're welcome everybody. We're gonna get started here. Welcome to the Office of the Ombuds Commission meeting, September 17th, 2024. I would like to welcome the OPO, commissioners, our legal counsel, folks in the crowd and in the booth up there. Welcome, and we'll actually go into agenda and meeting minutes approval. Yes?
I would like to, today is September 24th. I know that must have been for last week when we changed our meeting. I'm looking at the agenda.
Thank you for that. That is correct.
9/24/24. I just had to say
This
that.
is the 24th. Thank you for that.
Do you want two separate votes on this, or can we do the agenda and the minutes together? Approval.
We could
Let's do them separate.
do them separate?
Yep.
Okay.
So I move that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All
With
right.
with the change of the 24th.
With the change of the 24th. That is accepted. Okay, we're going to go into,
We got to do the minutes.
oh, thank you for this. See? So we're going to actually move to the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 27th, 2024.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the minutes. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, that is passed. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Rose. Okay, now we're going to move to public forum. And first up, we have Debbie Novak.
Okay, don't start that timer till I'm ready. Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for being here today. Debbie Novak, mother of David Novak. When I come to speak to you on happenings that should be of interest and concern to you and others, I come with David in my heart and seeking justice for others by way of nothing else other than to simply educate and let you know what the records show. I know it is daunting to go through such happenings as an officer-caused vehicular accident with the hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of records to comb through. On March 25th, 2020, 6:50 a.m. at 5th and Lincoln, there was a motor vehicle accident with a patrol car driven by Officer Bruner and another vehicle that was a man and a wife, the Collinses. Also, a third vehicle was involved that was parked on Lincoln Street. The patrol car was shown to have been traveling at a speed of 65 miles per hour going down the hill on Lincoln Street. There was a second officer, Officer Roy, that was directly behind Bruner, coming down the hill as well. I have not been able to find out the speed of Officer Roy's vehicle. However, the case summary report and Officer Roy himself states that he was directly behind Bruner and was following him to the station to go home. One of the witnesses that was irritating to these officers because she was going too slow stated that she believed the officer behind her was 5 to 6 feet from the back of her car. She was attempting to get out of their way. Both Bruner and Roy were found to have violated policy using equipment and conversing by saying that the woman in front of them sucked. Officer Bruner revved up his engine and swerved to pass her on the left-hand side to continue down Lincoln. Officer Bruner hit the Collins' vehicle as they attempted to make it across Lincoln Street to continue driving westbound. The vehicle that was behind the Collinses stated that the Collinses did come to a stop at the stop sign prior to entering that intersection. This incident caused damage to 3 vehicles, of which 2 were totaled. Most importantly, it caused 3 people to be hospitalized. The worst of the three was Mr. Collins. He suffered a broken ribs, a broken collarbone, damage to his eye, and damage to his kidney. He was hospitalized for 4 days. Lois Collins, his wife, needed staples in her head. Officer Bradley Moon was the initial one to do an accident investigation immediately after the accident. He cited the Collinses for failure to yield by delivering a ticket to him while he lay in the ER. Several times in the various reports that were attached to the records requests that I did, it is said that Mr. Collins should have not been driving so slow and that he was somehow to blame for not getting through the intersection faster. Chief Midle, a few days later, asked Washington State Patrol to do an investigation. The results of that investigation are that the failure to yield ticket was dropped against the Collins, and Officer Bruner is delivered with 2 counts of vehicular assault, of which he pleads not guilty. During the initial investigation, Bruner does not answer questions or provide information to Officer Moon. This is the same with Officer Roy, and Officer Roy actually fills out his report while he's in the ER room with Bruner. The outcome is that Officer Bruner pleads guilty, so the final outcome, after many other things happen, he finally pleads guilty to reckless driving and receives a 1-year probation through the courts. His fines are waived. He receives a settlement agreement with the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Center and was required to take multiple classes, speak to 4 classes on this incident, and is placed on probation with the CJTC for 2 years. I have been told that this is the first settlement agreement between the CJTC and an officer in the history of Washington State. I want you to be aware that settlements through the CJTC are a new thing and expected to be used more in the future. Ironically, and just by happenstance, today is the day that Officer Dave in Seattle, the officer that struck the college student Jahavni Kandula while she was in a crosswalk heading to school, is scheduled to be in court. I understand that there will be a protest at the courthouse by the general public, most likely just simply a gathering of concerned citizens that want to send the message that no police officer is above the law. I am surprised this did not happen in Spokane, but I am guessing that it's simply because people didn't know. There are a lot of similarities to these 2 incidents, the one in Seattle and the one in Spokane. Both happened in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. However, the officers in Spokane were not on a call and did not have sirens or lights on. And again, the Collinses lived through this ordeal. The officers used their equipment to send an inappropriate message. My ask to you is go to 5th and Lincoln, be in that westbound lane, and try to imagine what it would have been like to have 2 vehicles coming down that hill at 65 miles per hour. There was a settlement for the Collinses, $135,000. The Kandula family has filed a lawsuit for $110 million, plus $11,000, and there's a reason for that. I have spoke to the Collinses, and they are telling me that they have lingering health problems due to the accident and that have hugely affected their lives. Thank you, and let's remember the Kandula family today.
Thank you for that, Debbie Novak. Any commissioners have any comments or?
Debbie, I'm just going to say, I have gone that way several times on 5th and Lincoln. I know exactly that intersection. So thank you for bringing that to us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I went and parked at that intersection and parked where the Collinses were. And the car that was directly, remember the car that was directly behind the Collinses did say, and they were very adamant, that they'd seen them come to a complete stop before they went through. And yeah, I just, when you go through all the records, and the file I have is huge, when you go through all the records, the thing that's really perplexing is how did it get that far? How did it get that far that Officer Roy or Officer Bruner or the investigating officer, Bradley Moon, did not stop it? The Collinses, that's a form of intimidation, the way they treated the Collinses. And so anyway, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anwar Peace, you have the floor.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Anwar Peace, a 24-year police accountability expert. During the run-up to the 2020 election, 8 community organizations met with the former chief in order to ask him and the mayor to issue a statement denouncing white nationalist groups coming back to Spokane to meddle with the election process, which those groups had came to Spokane during the George Floyd protests. The police chief said he wouldn't make a statement because if he did that, it would be seen as doing something political. And as police officers, we have to be apolitical, meaning having no interest or involvement in political affairs. A couple years later, I heard the police chief make this apolitical comment again, this time at 2 city council meetings. A city council member repeatedly asked the chief to issue a memo to his officers, asking them to stop telling citizens while on 911 calls that they can't do anything about that 911 call because the city council and the state legislature have defunded the police. Again, the chief told the city council about being apolitical, but no memo was issued, which as a result, officers are still telling citizens they're being defunded, which isn't the case. Also, it must be noted that the last police chief resigned because the light was shined on his political activities with the Downtown Business Association. Now we have Stickergate, where an officer was fired for putting "Let's Go Brandon" sticker on his squad car for months, while this officer had been advised of the political nature of it and kept it on anyways. By the way, this isn't the first time a complaint has been filed about an officer using a squad car for political nature. In the summer of 2021, a complaint was filed anonymously by somebody that worked in the neighborhood where an officer lived. And they filed this complaint against Officer Chris Johnson for him using his take-home squad car and using it as a centerpiece in his driveway Trump display at his home in Millwood. This driveway Trump display of Officer Johnson's consisted of countless flags and banners surrounding the squad car, those flags and banners were in the same nature of the Brandon sticker. And the social media accounts of the officer were full of those kind of memes as well, which also identified him as a Spokane police officer on those social media accounts. Nothing was done about this complaint, and since then, Officer Johnson has gone on to kill 4 people. I will end this with this. Over the past 10 years, the Department of Homeland Security every year issues an alert memo to every police department in this country, warning them about right-wing extremists trying to infiltrate the ranks of police departments. So my question is, what is SPD doing about this? And is the department taking a look at whether officers' political activities are bleeding into their police work? Case in point, recently an Auburn police officer was convicted of murder, and the political activities of this individual were all on his body in tattoos, as well as his social media accounts, as well as he had previously killed before. I would highly encourage you all to take a look at interim Seattle Police Chief's memo to officers after she shortly took over, talking about Auburn Officer Jeff Nelson and his conviction, and calling into question police leaders that allow multiple killers on their force. The aspects of Stickergate are astounding, and more should be done to be looking at this department and their political activities and attitudes, as well as I've seen multiple Blue Lives Matter stickers on squad cars, and those should also be removed because those are a political statement. Anyways, I applaud the efforts of the department for firing this officer, and I highly encourage more to be done to be dealing with officers' political activities while they work on duty. Thank you.
Thank you, Anwar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments or thoughts? Well, there's a correction, is there not? You want to talk about that really quick?
Sure, but not to go against the comments of the speaker. I do think it's important, just for clarification, and I said this last night, and I'll read it the same way I said it last night, is that we need to work on the restrictions placed on the OPO reports moving forward. We're prohibited from disclosing significant portions of information in our reports, as well as we're prohibited from providing our opinions. But as an example this week of the limitations in our reporting, our report was used by our local media in regards to a story about an officer who was fired for placing a political sticker on their patrol car. The story was picked up by other reporting agencies, and then the misstatements continued to intensify. A news outlet in the Seattle area even took the stance that the officer should not have been fired, it was low-level misconduct, and that this is the danger of having a biased oversight agency who writes reports and overemphasizes issues. So just as a quick reminder to everybody, the OPO, so our office, we write closing reports to make recommendations to the police department. We do not issue recommendations on discipline. Further, this was not an OPO-generated complaint. This complaint was filed and initiated by Internal Affairs. The OPO was involved in the investigation, which we normally are. We certified the case. We were removed from it. So once it's finished with IA, there's not even a finding put in place. We just put the facts in the case file. It then goes into the chain of command for the review. Because we have nothing to do with discipline, we cannot be a part of that. So after IA, it went to an ARP, an administrative review panel. And then the police chief ultimately decided to terminate the officer. I can mention this now because it has been released to the public and was even mentioned in our last OPOC meeting. The officer, though, was not terminated for the sticker placed on the patrol car. They were terminated for false and misleading statements made during the investigation. And not a single media source that I have read so far has got that detail correct, even though they are referencing the OPO report. So this action against this officer was not taken because of the OPO report. The OPO report came after the action was taken against the officer. So transparency and reporting is just crucial to legitimacy and oversight. So I'll continue to work with everyone I can who will listen about transparency and reporting moving forward.
Thank you for that. And I am curious, like, what would happen if he told the truth during that?
So if I did misstate the facts, I apologize for that, and I do applaud the police department for going forward with its falsification. So that is something that us activists have seen constantly in this department, and so if the department is going forward with those kind of allegations, I would love to follow up on that, because we continue to see body camera footage that does not match up with police reports. And so that the aspect of not a sticker creating this issue, but actually falsifying documents is something I'm really impressed with. So thank you.
Okay, Detective Duncan?
Dave Duncan, President of the Spokane Police Guild. I appreciate the detective, but it's to remind everybody I'm here speaking as the president of the guild in the guild capacity only, not as a detective. And Mr. Logue, I'm sorry that the media is quoting you, so I feel like we have something in common now. When the reporter from the Spokesman called me, her question to me was, did we represent Officer Moon? Well, yeah, I don't have a choice. Even if he was not a dues-paying guild member, I am still required to represent him. So those are the types of things that our really poor media in Spokane and then across the country like to do to get those clicks and those likes as they mischaracterize things. So I'm sorry that this is coming back on you. I wanted to talk tonight about the guild contract. And just to remind everybody, there is no such thing as the guild contract. There is a City of Spokane and Spokane Police Guild collective bargaining agreement. We together have a 50-50 contract. It is not solely ours, it is not solely theirs. There are things in our contract that my members very much dislike and would like to have changed, removed, added. The city, I know, feels the same way. But to characterize it as the guild contract, it makes it seem as though this is solely our doing, what we want, and there is nothing else that can be done about it. It is solely the guild. I'm going to remind everybody that there is an entity that continues, that is not the guild, that continues to use the guild contract as an excuse to obstruct investigations into the body camera video that besmirch the good nature of our council president, Betsy Wilkerson. They also used the guild contract to stop that investigation. They used the guild contract to not participate in the independent investigation. And then after the fact, that same group of people used the ombudsman's desire to have independent investigation and to compel officers as their political rallying cry. There were rallies out here supporting our chief, our poor chief. We don't want the ombudsman to investigate our poor chief. You know, I remember that our poor chief falsely accused 2 of my members, and it's in their permanent file as accused, policies there that they released records. Well, and he used that guild contract to stop that investigation. And who was he stopping that investigation for? Himself, not a guild member. He did it for himself. So I still come here every single meeting. I laud the closing reports that Mr. Logan and Ms. Omana have done. I fully endorse all of the recommendations they've made. I don't see the other half of that contract ever coming here. I'm here and willing to move us forward. I'm only one half of that negotiating table. So I hope that I've made that point clear before, and I just want to really remind everybody. The other thing I want to say is we've been doing closing reports for 2 or 3 years now. Yeah. I can confidently say the group of people that have most benefited from those closing reports are my members. More than I would say the general public. They're my members. Because those closing reports again and again and again point out the double standards that we have, the not great processes that we have had that negatively affect my members and my members' rights. So thank you. I'm here. I'm ready to move forward to, fix some of the things in the city and the guild's contract that I know frustrate you and rightfully do frustrate you.
Thank you, Dave Duncan, for coming here and sharing with us. See, look at that. I got it right.
You can still call me detective. I just want to make sure that people know that I'm not here as a detective. Yeah.
And we did bring up the guild contract last night in regards to a few areas that we'd like to see.
That might be why I'm here.
Continued work on moving forward. And I probably even called it the guild contract. I think so. That was probably a misrepresentation by my part. And I agree, it is a collective bargaining agreement. And what we have found is that the police guild definitely seems to be the face of that particular contract. Although behind the scenes, there are multiple different stakeholders that seem to have a lot of influence into what gets accepted and what does not get accepted. I don't want to speak for the police guild, but over the last couple of weeks, I have talked with members of city council and I have talked with Mayor Lisa Brown and expressed my desire about potentially having some discussions to fix some of these things that are maybe obstacles would be a good way to put it, maybe even prior to the start of this next bargaining cycle. Her question to me, the mayor's question to me was, how do we go about that process legally? And I'm probably the least qualified person in the city to actually talk about that. So we would definitely be interested to see if there is something we can do, an avenue forward. The mayor indicated that she would be interested in at least hearing and seeing what possibly might go on the table. But I would concur that although the police guild gets referenced a lot with this particular contract, some of the things that have been put in place, it's been very, very clear they were not put in there by the police guild, but by other stakeholders within that bargaining process.
Yeah, I want to talk about the compelled statements. When you did your independent investigation, you wanted to speak to one of the initial officers again, one of the two that, you know, we the police department falsely accused, and he was ready to come in. He accepted your invitation. He was going to come in and talk to you. And then it was a week or so later, changed his mind. In between that, he received a phone call from our prior chief, letting him know, hey, you've been exonerated. Well, thanks, we know why he was exonerated. You've been exonerated of these charges, but there's still going to be some political heat for this thing, and there's still going to be some stress for you on this. So the chief wanted to just give him that personal phone call to apologize about that. That poor officer had no desire to ever be a part of this thing at all, ever, and got drug into this. And so he then declined your interview, your follow-up interview there. And then as we got into the next year, I remember the former mayor making statements about how if the ombudsman ever had the authority to compel interviews, to compel statements, that no officer would ever work here. Wasn't the guild saying that. It was the city saying that. So I just want to remind everybody, there's two people at that negotiating table, two parties, actually several parties, but there's the guild and many other people with interests. So, yeah.
Definitely looking forward to seeing what we can do moving forward.
I'm looking forward to this being done and us moving forward and doing some more good. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you, Dave Duncan. Okay, we gotta move along. We got an action-packed agenda. I am really happy to introduce our Chief of Police, Kevin Hall. And if you could come up and have the floor. So myself and Mr. Logue, we had the pleasure, along with other folks, had the pleasure of being able to do interviews for our next police chief. And what I can say is that Chief Hall really stood far and wide ahead of the other candidates that asked or that were looking to be, and I have something in my eye now, that were asking to be a police chief here in Spokane. I understand that you have some roots here in the Pacific Northwest, especially the Spokane area. So we're happy to have you here, and I don't know if you had some opening comments that you wanted to make before we got into some Q&A.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me. I think I was supposed to come last month, got a little tied up, or last week perhaps, moving all my boxes of stuff that are still sitting in my new house. But thank you. I appreciate meeting you all and forming a relationship that's productive moving forward. Much like President Duncan, these are all very important relationships that are about bettering policing, bettering our officers, making the community more comfortable, and building trust and legitimacy. And I think we're all on the same page with that. So I look forward to this relationship, and I appreciate you inviting me here for, what'd you say, Q&A?
Q&A, yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to that too.
All right. Thank you for that. And commissioners, if we could keep it short. We did prepare some questions for you, so we'll go in order and start with Commissioner Rose.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Chief Hall. My question has to do with your experience with community policing initiatives. And first of all, your experience with that. And then how do you see that helping working in Spokane and with the Office of Police Ombuds? My question is very short, by the way. I just want to remind everybody.
Yeah. Short doesn't mean simple.
That's true.
I view community policing as a community engagement. So a lot of people conflate the two terms, but community policing is authentic community engagement. That means as an agency, officers, detectives, sergeants, commanders, they have authentic relationships with individuals in the community, with organizations in the community, nonprofits, for-profits, the business community, but also neighborhood associations, all the different, and people use community as this sort of homogeneous term that the community is all one thing, when I think maybe we agree, we don't agree. It's my opinion that the community is actually made up of a lot of very smaller communities, and so we have to gear how we engage with the different communities. Some communities want a lot of engagement. Some communities don't. We have to respect that and not force ourselves on communities that really don't want to have that relationship right now, probably for good reason, maybe not, who knows. But we can continue to work on that relationship and build trust and legitimacy incrementally, if that makes sense. I think it's a conscious effort. It doesn't just happen organically. And it happens both from the bottom up. I've already seen some really excellent examples of patrol officers who are engaging the community in really productive and professional ways. And in fact, I just signed a bunch of accommodations before I came down here while I was sitting thinking it was a virtual meeting. So I apologize for being late. Where that is effective community engagement, where the officers are going the extra mile, taking the extra step to engage with the community members that they're meeting. It also takes into account the different sort of interests of the community. The business community has much different interests than a neighborhood association, and the neighborhood association has much different interests than, say, a school, a particular school, and its feeder schools. So we have to take all of that into account. I guess that's a long way of saying it's very complex, but it has to be conscious, and it has to be driven both by the top and by the bottom. And I'm already seeing examples of that, really good, positive examples of that at every level within SPD. There is I would say, a willingness to want to engage the community in a way that is going to be positive moving forward.
I'm just going to add a little bit. I've been on the commission for this is my 9th year. And when I started, I would say when I did my ride-alongs, most of the officers, and this is 9 years ago, granted, most of the officers didn't know what the Office of Police Ombudsman at the time was. They didn't know what we were about, what we're trying to do, better policing efforts, not just catching bad police officers, but also finding the police officers that are doing what you just described, engaging with the community and doing things like that. I don't know, to be honest, if it's still like that today. It seems like, in my eyes, we're like the bad people because we're trying to catch. And actually, I don't see it that way at all. We're trying to make our community better for everybody, like you just described. And you're right, it's not a generic word. Community is not a generic word. We have our Native people, we have our African American, we have just an array here in Spokane. Granted, it's mostly white. I've been here all my life. It's a white community, but I really think we're really trying hard to involve everyone. So your experience in Tucson, can you be a little more specific about that community engagement in Tucson?
Sure. So probably for about the past 10 years before I came up here, I oversaw our community, what we called our community engagement efforts, which we brought on a community member who was a small business owner as a community engagement coordinator. And she eventually became full-time. She was invaluable. She was a small business owner for 25 years in the city, so she knew everybody, and she knew how tough it was for a small business to be successful. But she also had engaged with nonprofits, non-government organizations, so she had a wide network. And we were able to leverage that so that she could get into places with organizations that traditionally were not interested in engaging with the police department. But through her abilities and basically her demeanor and her history there, we were able to break new ground with a lot of different organizations. The other thing I'll say is, and you'll hear me say it over and over, it has to be authentic. And I'm not talking about any police chiefs in particular, but I can certainly mention some across the country where community engagement means they show up, they get a photo op of shaking somebody's hand or holding a baby, and then they're off to the next one. That is not community engagement. That is not authentic. You have to show up, you have to roll up your sleeves, and you have to do the work with the community for the community. That's what it's about. And if somebody snaps a picture, so be it, but you're not there for the picture. You're there to do the work with the community. And that's authentic community engagement. And that's what I'm seeing being done at the very line level patrol officer here in Spokane. I'm seeing it. We just need to do, meaning myself and my staff, do a better job of telling that story and showing the community that this is occurring and it is going to grow and continue to occur. Quite frankly, because the police officers like it. They see it. They see the advantage of doing that and having that relationship.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. We'll go to you, Commissioner Wetzel. And then before each of us go up, and thank you for sharing your experience on the ombuds. Commissioners, if you could introduce yourself so Chief Hall could know who he's talking to.
Good evening, Chief. My name is Philip Wetzel, and I'm a newbie on the board. And but I'm looking forward to getting to know you, and I'm very impressed with your responses and how important you believe it is to be authentic. And I think that's the right emphasis. So my question, I wrote something out, but I'm going to change it around a little bit. I think it must be a very challenging job to be a street cop, and especially with the strictures of the law and the Constitution. And I guess I'm wondering what you did in Tucson to infuse the department with a commitment to accept the strictures of the Constitution and the law, even though, you know, it might make the job more difficult. First of all, how did you do that in Tucson, and how do you think you can do that here?
Well, I don't think let's start at the very beginning of this pipeline. When you're looking for people to hire, you need to have what you just described, constitutional policing, in mind when you're looking for who you want to hire. You have to bring on and recruit the people you want to do the job that you want them to do. So you have to have that in mind. It has to be targeted. It has to be focused. We already get, and when I say we, I mean in policing, people who want to be police officers, they come to us. We don't have to go out and look for them. The people who maybe are questioning whether they want to be a police officer, but they want to somehow serve their community, they want to be a part of the solution, we have to figure out who they are and go out and focus our recruiting efforts on them. I don't really think we need to focus our recruiting efforts on people who want to come be police. They're going to come be police if they're eligible. We need to go out and find the people we want to bring in to hopefully start moving the needle on diversity, on pro-social behavior, on empathy, and I've talked about this before. There are some professions that draw those people, and the first one that comes to mind are teachers. And I'm not sure how it is in Washington, but most of the places I've been throughout the United States, police officers make a lot more money than teachers. But they have the same mindset. They have the same servant mindset. They want to help. They want to be problem solvers. So quite frankly, teachers are a target audience for me when it comes to recruiting. Social workers the same way. They don't make a lot of money. Police officers make a lot more money, but they do a lot of the same work. and a lot of the same community problem solving. That's another group that we can certainly target for recruiting. And I think a lot of folks who are in that field would make excellent police officers. And in fact, I'll even give you an example. In Kansas City, they had a program where they had social workers, they brought on social workers to ride with officers to help solve community problems. They had a problem keeping the social workers because they all became cops. So they had to continue to hire social workers because the ones they hired decided they wanted to go to the academy and be a police officer. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Well, can I redirect you just a little bit? Sure. So you've got a whole bunch of people in the force right now. Do you have any idea of what you can do to infuse that acceptance to be subservient to the law and the Constitution, even though it's a tough thing to do on a daily basis?
I guess I would push back a little bit on that, as I don't think it's that tough. It's actually pretty clear cut, and the training provides how they can do that. And I see, and the reason we get the cases we get is because they're not perhaps doing the job that we want them to do. And so we're doing a course correction. That's the value of this group and this structure, is that we're able to provide course corrections to officers who maybe are straying from what you're describing as constitutional policing, and saving careers, and mitigating risk to both the officer, the agency, and the city. And that's the way I see this group. You're performance enhancers. You're not out to get cops. You're out to make better cops. And that's my job as well. I would submit that's everybody's job. I know that's what the Guild wants to do too. We want to increase performance on a daily basis. Always be better tomorrow than you were today. That's my mantra. And the same thing when it comes to constitutional policing, evidence-based policing, or community-centered or community policing. Those are what I would submit going to be our organizational values, are those three pillars. And that starts from who you hire, how you train them, and then how you hold people accountable. And it's not all negative. When I talk about accountability, a lot of it is positive incentives. You see a good job, you tell somebody you're doing a good job. Catch them doing a good job, not catch them doing a bad job. And incentivize that high performance culture, and I think we'll get to where you want us to be, if we're not already there, which I submit we're pretty damn close.
Thank you. We gotta continue here.
Hi, I'm Amy McCollum. I met you actually at the interview. I asked you about oversight. But this time, my question is, so how do you think that we can increase transparency in policing?
It's a little difficult, I'm finding out, as I learn Washington State's laws, which are very, very different than, every state's a little different. Washington State went through a series of reforms over the past several years, but also their public records laws, some of the things that can be released, not released. I'm used to releasing body-worn camera after a critical incident in a week to 2 weeks, just flat out. If there's an officer-involved shooting, you're going to see the body-worn camera in under 2 weeks. That's what we can do in Arizona. You can't really do that. It's very difficult to do in Washington. So I have to figure out, as I learn the laws here and work through the contract and, the myriad of different legal structures that bind us, how I can increase that transparency. But a lot of it is going to be just me coming here and talking to you. I've said it before. You probably heard me say it. This is what you get. This is me. I am not an eloquent speaker. I just tell you the way I see things. And if we agree, we agree. If we disagree, we disagree. None of it's personal to me. It's not. And I'm sure there are going to be times when we disagree. Just know it's not personal. And I am not vindictive. But it's just going to be a lot of work of me working through all of the legal aspects of how we can be more transparent, but also just being able to say in public spaces like this, how I think we can do that. Long way of saying I'm working on it.
Yeah, you're new, so I get it, but thank you.
Can I ask our lawyer a question? Would that be in order?
Go ahead.
Tim, what is the law on how quickly a body cam can be released or other reports?
Well, it's not released until the investigation is complete, and then I think there's some other restrictions by the state that was created by law, and then there also could be in the contract some issues there too. So, as the chief has mentioned, there's a number of legal tentacles out there that you have to get through in timelines.
The criminal investigation has to be complete first, and sometimes that can take over a year, as I'm sure the folks on this board know. And so it could be a very old incident by the time anybody sees footage from it.
But it worked pretty well in Tucson to let it out.
Oh, absolutely. You can go online and look at all of and Phoenix does the same thing. LAPD, actually, we got the idea from LAPD.
Okay.
Chief Hall, welcome to Spokane, and thank you for being here. I know that you obviously have been very, very busy. And my name is Ladd Smith. A retired school teacher, 35 years, and I appreciated your comment on catch them doing the right thing. That was my philosophy in the classroom. Look for those who are following directions, those who are doing the right thing, and that always works. My question is regards, I think you more or less have answered it, but it involves community and the subgroups of communities. And some of those communities are feeling marginalized or feel as though they can't trust the local law enforcement agency. And in particular for Spokane, in my 9 years on this commission, I've really been concerned about the indigenous people of Spokane and some of their concerns and how they have been addressed or not addressed in recent years. Where, again, I think you mentioned the photo op. That's how it felt when I went to these meetings at the Native Project, was an attitude of nothing is going to please the Spokane tribe. So we're just going to sit here and pretend. So that's one example of a marginalized group. There are others, obviously. My question to you is, how would you go about what is your plan to connect with these different groups in Spokane? Because we're a different city, we're a different from Arizona. So any further comments you have on how to bridge and what your plan is to get to know them?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it comes down to respect. Just respect for who they are, respect for their culture, an appreciation for culture, and understanding the historical, the group that you brought up, Indigenous or Native Americans. There is a lot of historical trauma there with government in general, and anybody who represents government. So it's a trust building exercise, and for there to be trust, you have to show up when you say you're going to show up, and you have to do what you say you're going to do. That's just trust building 101. So my plan is to do that, to meet with these folks, and I can show you my calendar, weeks of meetings with different groups. And some groups, you pointed out, are going to need more attention and care than other groups because the trust is so broken and so fractured. And that's going to take a lot of time. And we may not ever get to a point where we're best friends, but I want to get to a point where if they're in trouble or in need of police assistance, they'll call instead of not calling, which I think happens an awful lot right now with groups such as you're talking about. But it also allows us, going back to the community engagement, of recognizing that a lot of these groups also have a lot of needs. And we can provide things that a lot of other government entities can't. We're out there 24/7. We know how to navigate public government almost better than anybody else in public government. We know where to send people to get help. We know where to send people to mitigate eviction. We know how to do all of those things. We are community navigators, and that's what police do really, really well. So there's a lot of different ways we can build that trust and utilize our knowledge of public government to help people navigate what is just a bureaucratic maze for most folks, and we can certainly help them do that and increase trust and get them the help that they need. That's my plan moving forward.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for taking these questions. I guess, so I'll do the last question to you. And obviously, you're our new police chief, and you have a really tough job ahead of you. But if you could just share, who is Kevin Hall? If you could just give us a brief, I don't know, bio of Kevin Hall. Okay. And why Spokane?
A brief bio of Kevin Hall. I actually was born in Tucson, but left as an infant. My parents moved to Southern California, and I grew up in Southern California, a little town called Hemet, right outside of Riverside. I went to UC Riverside for my undergraduate degrees. Little known fact, when I was 19, was having an existential crisis, sold everything I owned, motorcycle, car, bought a backpack and went to Australia for over 2 months and just backpacked around Australia. It was at that point in time, you guys are getting the thumbnail sketch here. At that point in time, I thought, I got to do something with my life. I'm going to join the military. I came back, I joined the Air Force. And for me, the military was a very good way to grow up and understand structure and rules and how to be responsible and self-accountable. It's not for everybody, and I'm certainly not advocating that people go into the military. I'm just saying for me, it was a good thing. When I got out, I went back to UC Riverside, finished my 2 degrees, sociology and psychology. Did not want to raise a family, could not afford to buy a house, and didn't want to be a cop in Southern California in the early 1990s. But when I separated from the Air Force, it was in Tucson, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, so I went back there because I liked it. Brought my, at the time, girlfriend, now wife, and that's where we raised our family, spent 32 years there rising through the ranks. On the paternal side of my family, my father is full-blood Colville. So we would come up through Spokane all through my childhood into my teenage years, and then as adult to the reservation. We would sometimes stay in Spokane, but we would always pass through Spokane. And then recently, in the last few years, I've spent more time as, I had to bring my father, who passed, to bury in a traditional burial ground up there. He had a very large family, 9 brothers and sisters, and as they got older, they started to pass, so I was coming up for funerals. That's a very big deal for Native Americans. So that's me. I have a deep passion for professional policing and making policing better, and an even deeper passion for, and you'll hear me say it over and over, evidence-based policing. Policing that is based on science and the best available research on what actually works, and not just gut instinct.
Chief Hall, I mean, I wish we were going to end on that, but we do have one more question. If you want to go, Mr. Logan.
Well, that was a softball. Mine's more of a blazing fastball, maybe a sinker. But it's a question I was able to ask you on the selection panel regarding officer-involved shootings. And I thought your answer there was good, and I thought maybe the community might like to hear that. We actually have an impacted family member in the audience tonight. And we deal with the population that pays very close attention to mapping police violence and where Spokane ranks in regards to officer-involved shootings. And I'm just kind of curious what your 2 days into the job, I know it's an unfair question, but what could a strategy be to help both officers, community members, and our city reduce the violence that's happening?
Yeah, that is a pretty complex question, and I don't want to, make it seem simple by giving a very short answer. So what I would say is a lot of it goes back to what I said previously about who are you selecting to come on the department? Who do you want to be police officers? How are you training them? Are you still training them the way you were in 1980? If you are, that's a problem. That's not happening in Spokane. What standards are you holding them to? And once again, not to get too technical, but Graham v. Connor is the standard for use of force, if it's objectively reasonable. I would say that's the bar where you start, and then you build your policy on top of that. Your policy can always be stronger than the law. And so you build a stronger policy. The higher you raise the bar for performance, police officers will always get there. They always will. They want to be better performers. So you just need to raise the bar. The unfortunate thing is I don't believe, I guess I should never say never. I would be shocked if we were able to reduce all deadly uses of force in the country, period. In a country where firearms are everywhere, I just see that as completely unreasonable. What I do believe is we can make headway with the 400 or so uses of deadly force where a firearm isn't present. And that would reduce deadly force incidents by 30 to 40% a year in the United States. There are procedures, there is training. The Police Executive Research Forum has rolled out the only de-escalation training that has received an academic evaluation that showed it was extremely effective, and that's called ICAT, Integrated Communications and Tactics. But that is strictly for non-firearm events. Knives, bats, hockey sticks if you're in Canada. That's where we can have an impact. The other thing I would mention is the recognition of people in crisis. I think we can do more in that arena. Officers sometimes in the moment, look, I've been afraid, and I think most officers say that they were afraid. And sometimes that's when use of force happens. We're afraid. We're afraid for our lives. We're afraid for the lives of the people around us. So you have to be careful, but I think there are times when we can back up, we can create distance and time and get under cover and reevaluate. Take that tactical pause and say, do we really need to push this right now? Can we just wait? That's de-escalation 101. So there are things we can do. There are things we can look at. There's also, like I said, ICAT that has an academic evaluation that shows that it reduces use of force by a large percentage. So I'm not here to say there's nothing we can do. I'm here to say there are things we can do. It's just going to take a lot of work, a lot of retraining, and I've always said unlearning is far harder than learning. But it is important, and we are going to work on it.
Chief Hall, you're off the hot seat.
I wish.
All right, thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have questions for us, though?
Maybe one. Sorry, Chief.
I'm going to take a rain check. I'll be back.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we still got quite a bit, y'all. So the next part of our agenda is the OPO report. Mr. Logue, get the floor.
2 minutes or less, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it's been a meeting or two since I was here. Louis May can handle a meeting, so without further, no, I'm kidding. Sorry. That would have been fun. So we'll just run through the stats real fast. Contacts had 364 of them in August, so it was a very robust month. A lot of that's due to National Night Out and unity in the community. We had an awful lot of opportunity to be with the community. But 1,691 for the year. If you look back at our annual report, which we just briefed last night, We only had 1,820 community contacts for the entire year, so we're almost there already by the end of August, so worth noting. We interviewed 13 community members for potential complaints, which ended up with 4 complaints submitted to Internal Affairs, as well as 4 referrals. Those are spelled out inside of the monthly report. We certified 5 cases, so up to 51 for the year. We participated in 9 Internal Affairs interviews, so 70 for the year. It was only 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, where we were in less than 40 interviews for the entire year. So already at 70 in August, we're doing much more robust investigative focus with Internal Affairs. Meetings with SPD, we had 49 last month, so we're up to 356 for the year. As of August, we had 415 last year, so we're almost at the entire year's. And when I say meetings, we're talking about events and conversations which generally are 30 minutes or more. We count a contact for something that's less than 30 minutes, and if it's more than 30 minutes, we count that as a meeting. Community meetings, that number's going to be off in your report. We'll adjust that right afterwards. We had 25 community meetings, so plus 18 from the 7. That was an error that in how I was writing them on our monthly huddles, so 74 for the month. Big things that our office was involved in over this last 30 days is I participated in 2 officer decertification panels for the Washington Criminal Justice Training Commission. One of those was virtual, online, and then one was held in Burien. All 3 of us attended, or no, I'm sorry, I went to 3 national night out events. I think we tried to get that information out to the commission. We'll try to do that again next year. There's probably 40 to 50 events around the city over the course of a couple of days. It's always in August. If you have a chance to go to 1 or 2 of those events, you get to interact with members of the community which you might not ever otherwise get to see. So they're worth definitely getting out there, and a lot of them involve barbecues, so there's a chance you can get a hot dog or something while you're out there. We worked with Chris Wright on finalizing the OPO name change ordinance. The City Council voted on that on September 9th. I spoke with Maggie Yates, the Deputy City Administrator, right before we came down here. She was unsure if the mayor had signed it yet, but the mayor showed no indication that she would not sign that into law. We've gone back to HKW. They are the firm that helped us with our logo refresh, and they'll be helping us work on our website and some other outreach material moving forward. So we're working on that. That's kind of up in contracting office right now. NACO board meeting, attended there. We also had 3 committee meetings for NACO and a special meeting of the Criminal Justice Training Commission. Supervisor training, we attended that at SPD. That's something I think I'd like to emphasize for just a second. We've been invited to supervisors training. We've probably been invited for a long time, but traditionally we have not gone. But since the particular incident involving the officer with the sticker on the car, the last 2 supervisor trainings we've been specifically invited to. So I've gone there, and I can attest that when you go into a supervisor's training after an event, it's always interesting to kind of sit there and hear what you might hear. And there's 40 sergeants, lieutenants, and some captains in the room sitting there where they really did a good critical analysis on what could have gone better during that process. Supervisors that were involved stating what they did and what they didn't do, what they wish they would have done, and how it might have led to a different outcome. So really trying to do that, that self-reflection in which what could I have done better as a supervisor in order to make this better? So doing that in front of their peers is especially challenging. It's been eye-opening and very, very good to see that happening. So that's happened in the last 2 months, and we went to that. I was out of town, but I think Christina was our representative at Chief Hall's swearing-in ceremony, so that was a pretty good event. I'm told I've missed something. Louis May had a chance to attend the Labor Law and Arbitration Conference in San Francisco, I think. And then I think that's about it. We actually, because of a commissioner being unable to attend the NACOL conference, we had funding, and I have invited Lieutenant Sean Wheeler from Internal Affairs to actually attend a NACOL conference with us. So he'll be attending with us to see oversight and action from across. I guess President Duncan, instead of Detective Duncan, went with us last year to Chicago, and I think probably a little bit more exposure to NACOL and what civilian oversight is also beneficial for them as well. I'm not sure that I've told everybody here, but I've been invited to participate at the Harvard Kennedy Government Performance Lab following NACOL. They'll be flying me to Chicago for a workshop on police accountability. So that's happening right there in October as well, in Boston.
Oh.
So subject to your questions.
How you gonna mistake Boston? There's no mistake in Boston for anywhere else, you know?
I'm not even sure what I said.
Chicago.
Oh, that
Yeah,
makes
Boston's
sense.
way better than Chicago.
I've never been.
Well, I mean, what I heard from that report is that Dave, you just been kicked out. They found somebody else to go to. No, thank you for that, Mr. Logan. Any questions from commissioners or thoughts?
I'm glad to hear that they're doing the supervisor training based on that case. And it's interesting to hear your perspective on that. So I appreciate you going and sharing. And I think I've met, some officers now, and most of them do just want to help people. And so, talking about these issues with each other does seem to me like a restorative practice, kind of, that I would encourage the department to continue. Reading through some of the reports, recommendations have been repeated multiple times. So, Bart has said kind of what's needed and many times over the years. So I'm glad to hear that some of the critical analysis that he has been recommending is being implemented, and that you're a part of it, that you're invited to be a part of that. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
I do have one question. I'm just curious. On the referral about the community member calling 911 because their child was in a car with an intoxicated person, where does that get referred to?
So that went to SREC because the officers were never dispatched. So if officers were never dispatched, that can't be a SPD complaint.
Got it.
There's that component in the middle.
If they
Spokane
called,
Regional Emergency Communications.
oh, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this report, and it's just it's really cool just to hear all the places that both of you are going and the recognition that you have nationally for your work, and we're all the better for it. And so really appreciate the work and the community contacts. I mean, it's just the amount of activities and engagement that you're doing is really amazing. Okay. All right, so next we have, we're heading into commission business, and we have outside legal counsel interviews. So we have Riverside Northwest Law Group. All right, come up.
Can I give a little background on this?
Absolutely.
So Commissioner Wetzel and I met, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we went through our applicants. We had 4 applicants, and we talked a little about each applicant and what we were looking for and what we thought would best fit being legal assistance or for the ombuds commissioners. And we came up with 2. Thank you for being here tonight. Do you want me to give about the other person? Okay, so the other person that we had, she could not attend tonight. So then we thought she was going to be here via Zoom, and that did not happen. So right now, we do not have the second person that we had selected to interview. We were going to select 2 out of the 4. So, but I'm glad you made it here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you, Commissioner Rose, for giving that just kind of background. I was hoping really quick that you could introduce yourselves and just share with all of us, a little bit more about who you are and why this is important for you to be a part of, and then we'll head into some Q&A. Sound good?
Sounds great. Brennan is gesturing at me to start, so I'll start. Hi, I'm Osti Galina. I'm an attorney at Riverside Northwest Law Group. Our firm has, I believe, 12 members. We recently added a person, so I'm not completely sure on our count, but I think it's 12. I am a University of Washington law grad. I am a Colton, Washington native, so yay, someone knows where it is. Spokane is, yes. I'm a Wazoo undergrad, so that's where my heart lies. I practiced in Seattle. After I graduated from law school, I clerked in the Federal District Court for the Eastern District of Washington for Judge Mendoza, and then in the Ninth Circuit for Judge Gould. Then made my way back here to Spokane, practiced with a couple of large firms, a regional firm that is no longer with us, unfortunately, and then branched off to start Riverside Northwest Law Group. My practice is primarily litigation, but I do advise institutional clients here and there. I previously was part of a team that was outside counsel for 2 large municipalities. I don't want to disclose who that is other than to say there's 2 large municipalities around here. They're not Spokane, and that's who that would be. I was primarily on the land use advising team there, but I also advised on labor and employment compliance, and for our private clients, I also advise on matters of compliance that span the gamut. Let's see. I think I've covered my entire background, and I will hand it over to Brennan.
Hey, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Brennan Schriebman. I go by Boone. I've gone by Boone since I was like 2 years old, so feel free to call me that. Whenever I hear Brennan, I think I'm in trouble from when I was a little kid, so feel free to call me Boone. It's great to be here. I'm very interested in the OPOC's work. A little bit of background on me. I clerked after law school. I was unfortunately not a WSU grad. I went to Gonzaga and then went to Villanova for law school, but because I really like college basketball. But the Cougs were good this year, though. That was fun to watch.
Interesting.
Yeah. Clerked for a couple judges, one on the State Court of Appeals, one in the Federal District Court here in Eastern Washington. I was a Assistant Attorney General in 3 divisions for Labor and Industries, and then as General Counsel for Eastern Washington University. Did a lot of OPMA work because my primary client was the Board of Trustees. And I also advised administrators there, including Chief Day, because of Eastern does have a fully commissioned police department, 15 officers, and so I was in contact with Chief Day over issues that would arise there. in private practice now, my law partner, Ms. Galina, and 10 others of us, and all of whom have done a variety of work for municipalities and large institutional clients, including myself. I think that's it for me. That's boring stuff. We're happy to take any questions, talk, whatever the chair desires.
Yeah, so we have 5 questions for you, and thank you for that introduction. And so Boone.
Yes.
Did I say Boone? Unless you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, we'll start with Commissioner Rose.
Okay, I think you just kind of addressed it here with the EWU and the Board of Directors and the police chief, right? Correct? Because my question was, what experience, I would say to you, it says your firm, but I would say to you, with representing public sector agencies, the Public Records Act, which you addressed, well, and the Open Public Meetings Act. So it sounds like you've had quite a bit of experience.
That's been my entire experience in a 9 or 10 year legal career, up until recently going into private practice. OPMA mostly has been through my job at Eastern. I've also, in a purely advisory recommendation-based role, I serve on the City of Spokane Human Rights Commission, and OPMA issues arise there from time to time, so I stay current on it. And a lot of PRA work at Eastern as well, a lot, especially when something bad happens.
Yes.
Not that anything did, but.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Okay, this question as well, I think you have answered a portion of it. Does your firm have experience with law enforcement or public sector labor unions? And if so, what is that experience?
I can take this one. We do have experience working with and opposing law enforcement on both sides, as well as with labor unions. A number of our members were previously at Witherspoon Kelly. That firm had a fairly robust labor and employment practice, in which capacity each of us, we all served on that team. Each of us dealt with collective bargaining agreements as well as advising on compliance with various labor laws there. One of our partners, Mike Love, he represents, is it the police district?
Relief and Pension Board.
Relief and Pension Board. So he has experience in that capacity, working with law enforcement in that sense, as well as firefighters. Can you think of anything else?
Eastern also involved collective bargaining.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's my turn. Is your firm familiar with the city's Office of Police Ombuds, the OPO Commission, and the rules governing the operation of the OPO and the Commission?
Yes. I'm aware that the OPO has 3 primary objectives. One is to review complaints about individualized instances of officer conduct. The second one is to make policy recommendations that I understand they forward to this commission. And then the third is community outreach. This commission's responsibilities, as I understand them, include supervising the OPO, selecting, evaluating the ombuds, who you've recently, we got to meet when you came to the Spokane Human Rights Commission a couple months ago. Yeah. It has the authority to certify complaints for independent investigations. And all of this was very well outlined, Commissioner Rose, in the article you wrote along with Deputy Omana in 2021 with the citations, which was really helpful. And I have reviewed the Spokane Municipal Code chapters giving that have contain that authority.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, do you think that you have any conflicts, you or your firms, with the Ombudsman's Commission or the Police Department?
No, in anticipation of submitting our materials, we ran a fairly extensive conflict check. Nothing popped up from an ethical perspective, nothing that would be implicated by the RPCs, as well as from just a positional standpoint. We don't see any conflict with our mission or vision as a firm or any of the positions that we've taken in litigation or advising.
Can you describe what your conflict check process is? Because I assume there's going to be issues that come up with certain individuals that may create a possible conflict.
Yes. So our conflict check system right now is a little bit more intense and involved than I hope it will be in the future, because as a new firm, we have folks who are coming from a number of other firms here in the region. So what we have is a number of databases that were imported from our work that we did prior, so we can make sure that we don't have any lingering cases that are still active or positions that we may have taken in the past that would create some type of conflict from a prior firm. In our current firm, we use Clio, which is a platform that manages kind of all aspects of client management. It allows us to do a really easy but also very comprehensive search of names, related parties, where those people are, what their status is, where we were on the case. So anything current and going forward, that's how we would do it. So we currently have a 2-tier system. When somebody comes in, we'll check our old stuff, and then we'll check our current stuff. And in so doing, we can make sure we haven't had anything yet where something's cropped up.
Thank you.
What about the city? Can you talk about that at all as far as any potential conflicts there?
Yes. There was anything that there might be against other departments within the city, it would be nothing that would implicate the ethical rules. So we didn't identify any issues there, and were there any cases against the city? Yeah. Our firm hasn't sued the city, as far as I'm aware, so.
Okay, so I have the last question here, and really is, how do you envision your firm representing the OPO Commission?
The philosophy that I learned at the Attorney General's office was what I took from the RFQ was that it was looking for advice. I did notice when reviewing the annual reports, the monthly reports leading up to this, that there's been a lot of work, that there's been an exponential increase in the number of work, in the amount of work that the OPO is doing. The philosophy that I learned was options-based advice. And so the idea is to present the client with a range of available and legally supportable options, and then provide risk, benefits, possible consequences of each, and so that the client can make the best decision for themselves that is in their own best interests, and also so that they can defend, and once that action is taken, whatever it is, whatever the client decides to do, they are in a good place, it is legally defensible, and that they feel confident in that action, and then the legal defensibility of that action. And then that can come in a number of ways. It depends on the situation. If it's something really urgent, it's a phone call. If it's, it depends on urgency, confidentiality, complexity, possible issues recurring. That might be more in the form of a memo. And that's something that we work with our clients to figure out the best way of communicating that.
Okay, I need to stop saying that I have the last question, because there's more questions. So, Ms. Amana.
I actually canceled my question, but since I have the mic, I guess I'll ask it. When you said you were prepared to, or you haven't sued the city, so this commission is independent, right? So while that hasn't happened, that might be something that comes up at some point down the road. One of the things that our office and the commission has struggled with is what happens when there's a difference in interpretation of a contract term or the SMC.
That's never happened.
So we've always kind of been told, okay, well, that's an outside issue, or I don't know, like, we'll see. So how would you, if you're in the position, how would you advise that we navigate those types of struggles that we, up to this point, have not been able to get past?
And just for the record, we haven't sued the commission either. Do you want to take this?
Sure. So if I understand the call of the question, you're wondering if there does come a point where perhaps there's a difference of perspective as to interpreting a contract that might put you maybe at odds with another division of the city. Is that the, or excuse me, a division of the city? Would that be the issue there?
Sure, yeah.
So we would treat you all as our client first. So our interpretation would be, here's what we think it says. Here's a range of options that, as Boone had referenced, are legally defensible. So here's some interpretations that may be a stretch, but here's maybe what they would do if you pull this lever, then this might happen. In terms of being in conflict with another section or agency or anything like that, where there may be a kind of feeling of ickiness, we will always revert back to the rules of professional conduct, which guide what we are able to do. However, based on an abstract hypothetical, I'm not seeing anything that would prohibit us from advocating for you as a panel or a commission. I wouldn't say to the detriment. And in terms of interpretation, I usually don't see a one interpretation going to the detriment of someone else, but your best interest would be our first priority.
In my experiences working with a large institutional client, there were often disagreements between various departments of that organization, and the it's this in this case would be actually quite a lot easier because the firm would have a client. The firm wouldn't consider the city to be its client. It would consider its client to be the OPOC, and then depending on how we talked about it, the OP, I know there's, a great number of involvements, so we could talk about issues of confidentiality and, whatever. But that makes it easier than having to work through issues of when you have a singular client and then there's disagreements between them.
I was just this is just something, so we meet once a month. Would you tag team, or would we have Boone every month, or how do you see that working? I'm kind of getting into the little bit of it.
I'm used to attending monthly commission meetings. I'm used to them going much, much longer than this one.
Yeah, we're usually pretty good, so, sounds good, thank you.
And just, I suppose, to piggyback off of that, Boone would be your primary point of contact for most things. We've found it's useful to have two folks on really any matter that we staff, so I would be your backup. Okay. And to the extent anything comes up that would be within someone's wheelhouse, if they have some type of specialized experience that they can draw upon, we would kick it out to one of the other members of the firm to help us with that. But I would see it as Boone is your primary, and then if he's, down with coronavirus or he chops off another one of his fingers doing a home improvement project, I can fill in.
All right. Well, with the spirit of making sure we're moving things along and staying on time, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, okay, quickly.
Quickly. No, not you guys. You guys are fine. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sorry.
everyone. It was
No,
great
this
to
is
meet
just
you all.
a technical question. So the other person that needed to be interviewed, is this going to push back our being able to hire somebody until next month?
That would be our decision to make tonight.
Okay, I see.
And did we ask our question to Tim about executive session?
Yes, we would go into
Okay.
executive
Session right now.
session to discuss them.
Okay.
To discuss.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to go into executive session starting at 7, and then we're going to be back by 7:06.
And you have to say what we're
To
discussing.
discuss the outside legal counsel.
Okay.
Done? Thank you. right. We're back. We'll wait for Mr. Lowe to come up. Okay, so we had our executive session, and thank you for taking time to be here and chat with us, and we'll definitely follow up. I don't know what time frame, in the next week or so? Yeah, so we'll follow up. Thank you for that. And then we're going to continue the agenda. And the next thing that we have is the community safety proposal. Is that you?
Is that me?
The community safety
Oh,
proposal?
yeah. Okay, so I'm not sure if everybody has seen this little flyer going around. I'll just explain where I'm coming from as an individual and commissioner. So I attended my neighborhood meeting last Thursday. I belong to the Audubon Downriver neighborhood. And when I walked in, a friend who was speaking gave me this flyer, and I looked at it. Apparently, he must have known I was on the commission because he pointed to the office of the police ombuds, and I'm going, what? I was very caught, and I was very surprised. I was totally surprised at this. I had no idea this was going on, no idea that we were part of the community safety proposal. I knew we had been looking, for money because we need to grow. The OPO needs to grow, and along with the commissioners. But I was just so surprised, and that evening I think I was more frustrated than angry that this was presented and we had no knowledge of what was going on. Now, in the future, what's the solution? Personally, I don't know. My understanding now is the city came up with the flyer, but Randy Marler, who's the president of the Firefighters Union, had been going to like 3 or 4 meetings and presenting this proposal. And I had no idea, what's the cut for us? I know the cut now is largely for the police and fire. I have nothing against the proposal. I think it's the way it was presented at the community meetings. And then also, why aren't we commissioners, not OPO, why are not the commissioners able to or invited to go out and speak on the proposal? Legally, I don't know if we can. I know we can't, we're volunteers, so I'm assuming we can on our own time speak on the community safety proposal. I'm kind of looking at Tim to get, as commissioners, can we speak on this on behalf of this if we're doing it on our own? Well, we're all volunteers. I mean, we're volunteering right now. We're not getting paid for this. So I guess that would be my question.
You can, talk about it on your own time and your own personal beliefs, but not on city property.
Or not like at a public meeting?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. That's what I thought. But I guess it goes back to being surprised about it and not having, and then I went online and looked, and this was approved by Spokane City Council on August 23rd, the night before our last meeting here. Our last meeting, I'm off on my dates, so excuse me. I think our last meeting was July 24th. This was approved the night before on the Monday night. And I wish at our meeting, we would have had a little bit knowledge of this resolution proposal that they voted on. My understanding is the OPO office did not know. So I'm nothing with anybody here. It's just, how can we do this better in the future so we're better aware of what's going on? That's my question, if anybody wants to comment on the question.
Sure. So I think it's a very good question, because this is where that whole being independent in the city thing means we're not often in the loop of what's going on. We don't go to the mayor's however often she has. I have no idea. We're not on her, what's she call it? Her cabinet. So we're not in on the discussions of what's happening when inside of the city, where we find out as a surprise. So for instance, in regards to this, before we came down, because I knew we were going to talk about it, and I knew I had received an email with this pie chart, which kind of had the figures, and I said, hey, Christina, can you print out that email? And she said, you know that thing that's on our website? So she said, go to the website. So I do what I normally do, and I go to Google, and I type in Spokane Office of the Police Ombuds, and the website pops up, because I don't go there. I don't do any work on the website. We hang things for folks so that we can be as transparent as possible, but I don't peruse the city website almost ever. And every page of the city website has this plastered all over it. And it was a surprise to me. It's actually one of our banner items. I think we have 4 items on our website where you can find information for this. So I guess part of me I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised, because I'm aware that we were part of the discussion. The mayor has shown strong support for our office. We were, what was the previous thing? It was the levy idea. I knew that we were going to be a part of that levy if that was to move forward. But the timing of it and all that, I have no idea. And I'm not sure how to get into that loop other than paying more attention to city council meetings. I'm unsure, honestly. We do have regular contact with Maggie Yates. I have a biweekly meeting with her, Deputy City Administrator, so that could probably, I could use that avenue to make sure that we stay better in the loop, and then I can certainly pass that along to the commission. I don't believe there was any attempt to exclude us by the city. We're just not part of that big cabinet, so we're unfamiliar with what's going on. And then the city council process it's a complicated thing, just figuring out how the process for our name change ordinance. Once I got on the phone with Chris Wright, their legislative assistant up there, I think that's his title, I'm not sure.
Policy advisor.
Policy advisor. I apologize, Chris. He started to say, well, you come to this planning session here, and then it has to go through a couple of readings, and then we put it on a date, and then we vote on it, but then it doesn't really go into law until 30 days later or once the mayor signs it. So we didn't actually know when we could brief our annual report based on the name. And all of that's new to me. I'm definitely not in the legislative side of the house. So what the city council's tracking, I'm less familiar with that. We can certainly try to be more familiar with that if you would like us to. But I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, I think Maggie Yates, if you're meeting with her every other week, maybe you have a standing item. I don't think you have a formal agenda, but maybe something that, is there anything we should know as police ombuds, what's going on in the city with the police ombud? It could be the tiniest thing, but, she could have brought up, oh yeah, we had a resolution, was voted on July 23rd. It's gonna, it's now we're I don't know if she would know, she must know these were printed out. And you're in that. So, just informal conversation, I guess.
Yeah, we'll certainly do our best on that, for sure.
Yeah, I actually went to a couple of neighborhood council meetings this last week too, like that same week you went. I went to 2, and I saw this, and I was a little surprised too, but it was okay because I was actually able to explain to the neighborhood council people, like a little bit of the history that we've never had really a stable budget, that we're kind of always asking the city for money kind of thing. So I was able to kind of explain a little bit of the reasoning behind it and the increased use of the office and things like that. So people who were confused, or the main thing people, it sounded like, had an issue with was that it didn't specify how much was going to which place, but it definitely talks about the biggest chunks being Spokane Fire and Spokane Police very clearly, because of what they want, the neighborhood officer program and the outdated fleet at fire. So I heard Randy too, like it's really, I mean, it sounds like they're kind of begging for, we need some money here, and with the budget shortfall. So I was surprised to see it, but I was actually okay with it because I happened to be there to be able to kind of explain a little bit of background, so.
Okay, anything?
Well, I would just follow up, just really briefly. We have had a lot of budget discussions with both the administration side of the House and City Council in regards to our goals for having an independent budget moving forward. So I do believe that should the budget issues shake out correctly in the city, that there's a chance to have our budget be independent from political changes moving forward. That being said, the answer to the dollar amounts, this is plastered all over the city website. So if you just go to SpokaneCity.org, you're going to see a chart that looks like that, and the dollar figures are right on there. So that's where I would go to look for that.
I do have some printouts if anybody needs them.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you, Commissioner Rose. We're going to move to our October meeting. Christina, do you want to take that?
Sure. So we need to look at the date for October. We have quite a few training out-of-town things. For example, we have NACOL, and that's October 12th through the 17th. Bart and Livy May go straight from NACOL to IACP in Boston, and then Bart has his engagement in at the Harvard thing. So, and that's right after. So he actually won't be back until the 24th of October. So either we need to move it like right up at the beginning of October, or we look to potentially cancel next month's, and then we have November.
Okay. So that would be November
19th.
Yes.
19th? Not the 12th?
The 3rd
It's the third Tuesday.
November. I mean, the 3rd Tuesday in November.
Okay.
19th.
How do we feel about that? November 19th?
That's fine with me.
That's fine with you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think with everybody traveling to the different trainings, I just don't see how feasible October 15th is. I
Or
mean,
the
we
29th.
could move it to the, 29th, but I just think November 19th is fine with me.
Okay.
And so we would eliminate.
So on the 22nd, you guys are still gone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, perfect, yeah.
Do we need a motion on that?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move that we cancel the October 15th meeting and regroup on November 19th, our standard meeting date.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that unanimously passes. And that moves us to Commissioner Speak Out. Got any commissioners that want to say anything? No? No?
I
I don't have anything to say, except I would just have a comment that I am just gobsmacked about how much work Louis May and Bart are doing, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And thank you, Christina, and thank you, Tim, for being here. Appreciate it very much, but that's all I have to say.
Yes. Yeah, really quick, yep.
It's just really hard for me to not say something about this. Commissioner Wetzel, you had brought up, and Chief Hall had brought up, you had just a little bit of conversation there about when records are released. I have thoroughly researched that, and I have come before you all in the past and talked about that approximately a year ago. And I believe Duncan was here at the time that we talked about that. But it's so important that I speak about that when it comes up, because as an impacted family member, it's huge when you don't know. For instance, my son, they said that he had a gun, and I didn't find out for 7 months that he did not have a gun. So the way the WAC is that, and I can't quote the WAC, I don't have it memorized, and I've had several conversations with then President Council Member Beggs about this too, is that it doesn't say that they can't release it, it says when they shall, the shall word. It says when they shall release the records. And the measurement there is that once the investigation is completed, and it also explains that the investigation is considered completed once it's delivered to the prosecuting attorney. So whether it's by email, hand-delivered, however they do it, that's when they're supposed to start releasing the records. Now, the past history has been, and I'll go all the way back to Otto Zem, is that they hold people hostage by not giving them the information. They did that to the Otto Zem family, and I'm sure Bart's probably aware of that, and Duncan's probably aware of it too. They did release information to them, but they had to sign some kind of a legal agreement that said that they would not speak about it. And so they've done that in the past, but it's just a point I want to get across, that it's huge for families that Spokane get that right, and that once an investigation goes to that prosecuting attorney, it not sit on their desk for 4, 5, 6, 7 months before he releases his determination that they make the family wait another period of time. It is supposed to be, those records, including body cams, are supposed to be released once the investigation is completed and delivered to the prosecuting attorney. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
So it says when they shall release records. Is there a prohibition forbidding them from releasing records prior to that?
There is not. It's,
Thank you.
the requirement is that they will make those records available, but they can do it prior to. And then Initiative 940 comes up. That's another whole conversation. And again, Initiative 940 does not say that they can't release records. It says they have to get permission from the lead investigating agency to release any information. So you're right. They can release them. So.
Okay, we've got one more question here.
It's I changed my mind on Speak Out. I just want to say thank you to Tim Zamblin, who's been our representative, steadfast, always here, and really appreciate. I suspect we'll have new legal counsel in November, so just want to make sure that I say thank you.
So we're not going to make sure he still comes?
I think that
Unless he wants to.
I appreciate it. It's been an honor working with the commission. When the commission was first created with Tim Burns, the first OPO, we had a discussion, I still remember it, where he goes, this commission could go really good or it could go really bad. And unfortunately, it was a rough start, but I have to commend all of you commissioners on here in working together and working really well with the OPO. And you will see me, because I still will be representing the Ombuds's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith, for making space for that. And we do appreciate you, Mr. Zamblin. And I will say, just before we end, I don't know if there's any more questions. I saw Commissioner McCollum put on her social media a link to, was it our video? Was it our meeting video, or was it the agenda? Yeah, and I think, well, I would like for all of us to start doing that, to start, putting these videos, if we feel comfortable on our social media, for folks to be able to, tune in and digest what's happening here. We have wonderful speakers, and there's so much knowledge just shared during these meetings, and I think that would be a good goal for us. But other than that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Next meeting, 2024.